Greetings, wonderful people. It's me, Shimon, and you're listening to yet another tech podcast. It's been a while, hasn't it? Well, today I'm being joined by a great French house and new disco music producer. It's none other than Louis La Roche. We'll be discussing about how exactly music is produced, what's it like to release an album during a global pandemic, and much, much more. But before we go any further, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for your immense support. I know 2020 has been quite an unprecedented year, and do not forget, we're in this together. Okay, without any further ado, pull up your masks and let's get started. For those who might not know about you, why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay, so my real name is Brett Yules. I'm 29 and I'm a music producer from the UK. I've been mainly making like house music and pop music for the last, 12 years now. And yeah, my main name that I go under is Louis La Roche, which is French, and even though I'm not, and I'm I'm like the most English person you'll ever meet, but that's what I do. I mean, I guess I'm a music producer, but I'm also like a singer-songwriter, but mainly I'm a producer or a DJ, whatever you want to call me. There's so many names now.
So, do you often get misrepresented as Louis? Or
Yeah.
or was I the only dumb person who did that?
No, yeah, definitely. Like all the time. Like, and I get it because, obviously it's like a French name and everything, and the music that I make is obviously inspired by, what the French guys were doing like 10, 15 years ago. So, but yeah, I mean, I can probably say about 5 French words, and that's about it.
That's interesting. So I found you out when I was like, this is about a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. I was going through my Discover Weekly playlist on Spotify, and I came across your song called "Cute," the Cute song.
Mm-hmm.
That one, and then a few weeks later, I found out which one was it? Damn, Back to You, the dub remix. So yeah, that's how I came in under your radar. And wow, I'm not trying to butter you up over here, but your music is really amazing. I love it.
Thank you.
Talking about which, like you decided to release a whole album during pandemic. So was that planned, or the pandemic just happened to just right over your plans?
Yeah, pretty much it just happened. Like, so that album, it's called Saturday Night Griever, and I was working on it for like 2 or 3 years, and I'd finally got to a point where I was happy with it. It was good to go. The artwork was done. The whole album was mastered and ready to go. And then, the pandemic happened, and it was at that point where, so everything was already sent to like all the stores and like my distributor ready to go. I could have pulled the plug, but I decided not to. I just thought, well, it was like early March, so I didn't really, none of us knew how big it was going to be, and so I just decided to go for it. I released it, and obviously, like, I can't tour or anything like that, which was like a big, sort of stab in the heart. But yeah, I mean, I'm still glad I did it, and I like the fact that people have discovered it who may not have because of the pandemic. So like a lot of people were listening to Spotify and sort of discovering new music because they're working from home or whatever. So in certain ways it's helped, but in other ways, like, not at all. So I'm there's no like regret, and I'm still glad I did it, but it's sort of, it is what it is.
Yeah. Everybody's just rolling off right now because they have no idea how things are going to happen, what's happening. Have you ever considered like doing some live stream of sorts, like a live concert, so as to say, on Twitch?
Yeah, and that's partly why I've recently upgraded my PC, is because now I can stream. Whereas before, like, I could stream, but it would be a really bad stream. Like, I tried it. I tried going on Twitch, and I tried like just playing some songs, or maybe like writing songs like on camera and everything, but it didn't seem to stream very well, and like I had to really reduce the quality of the stream in order to my CPU not to go through the roof. So
I see.
yeah, so I mean that's a good reason for now I can, but I just need to get to grips with it. I mean that's the good thing about the pandemic is that like live streaming before the pandemic had a bit of a, I don't know, like a bad rap and a bit of a, I don't know, people thought it was cheesy.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Whereas now it's like everyone's doing it. Like literally everyone right now is streaming.
True. So, considering you're, thinking of doing such live stream of sorts, like, do you have any timeline? Like, okay, say 2-3 months down the line, or a few weeks down the line, I will do this or that. But do you have any specific platform in mind, like maybe YouTube, Twitch, or just Instagram? Who knows?
I don't know. I mean, I guess like, I mean, there's websites now where you can kind of like stream to multiple at the same time, and I think that's a good thing. It's like, I mean, I kind of look at it as like a music point of view that like, yeah, there's some people who are on Spotify, but then there's some people who pay for Apple Music every month and Deezer and all the others. So if you kind of like exclude one, then you're missing out on potential people that could be listening or watching you. So that's how I see it anyway. So I think if I do it, which I'm pretty sure I will at some point, yeah, I'd like to do it like that, where you're kind of streaming over multiple platforms like YouTube and Twitch and Instagram and all the other ones, Facebook, whoever will have me, I'll do it. So yeah.
Yeah, no harm in including Facebook, although I guess.
Yeah. I'm not on it anymore. Like
Same.
Personally, like my personal account, I'm not on Facebook, but for Louis, I kind of have to be. So yeah, it's cool. Like if people like Facebook, I have nothing against them personally, but for me, it's just like it's lost all appeal for me now.
Same.
So yeah.
So for me, it's only Twitter, Reddit, Instagram. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
I'm there on Facebook, but it's only there to cross-check, like, okay, whose birthday it is. That's the only thing I use it for.
Pretty much.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about your album. You said you've been working on it for last like 2-3 years at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
for those who are uninitiated about this whole process of creating music, I'm curious, like, how does it take multiple years? Like some people might be having that conception in their mind, like, hey, making music is pretty easy, but I know it's difficult. It's not so easy. So could you please tell us how exactly everything comes around?
Okay, so typically, and I'm just talking like a typical song, like a typical day to day. I kind of like wake up in the morning, have a shower, have breakfast, and then I'll sit down where I am now in like, I have a room in my house which is just like a little makeshift studio, and yeah, I literally use the computer to make music. So I use a bit of software called FL Studio, which is a DAW, which is called a digital audio workstation, which basically I tell the computer what to do. So yes, I am making the music, but nowadays, like in the 21st century, the modern musician is basically a programmer. Like we're basically telling the computer what to do. Yeah, I have guitars and basses and synths and stuff, and I'll still play things into the computer, but 90% of the work is done by the computer these days. So yeah, the reason why they take so long could be anything from just perfecting the song. So I might write a demo which is just some simple chords and a drum beat, and maybe I have like a vocal idea that I'll just roughly put down, and that might happen over say like 2-3 weeks that I've got like a rough demo in place, and then it's about from there developing it into more of a polished song, getting a really good instrumental in place first. I mean, this is if I'm having a song that's meant for vocals, and then if there's any collaborators that I want to work with, sort of reaching out to them, sending people different songs, different ideas. Sometimes they're finished songs, sometimes they're just like rough scratches of songs, like little ideas. And then with this album, with Saturday Night Griever, every single song has got vocals on, And that's something that I wanted to do from the get-go, because my last album was all just pretty much instrumentals and a few like little samples and pieces of vocal, but mainly instrumental. So I wanted to do sort of the flip side of that and do something with vocals on every track. So and then I do something called comping, which is when you get a singer to re-sing a line several times. So say you've got the chorus, they'll re-sing the chorus, say 10 times, and you record that whole time, and then you basically pick the best of each take and you put it all together and you make a compilation of all the vocal takes, and that's how you get a really good vocal. Then I'll treat the vocal and make it sound good, and then I just send the song off to be mastered, and that's it. Like that's pretty much the whole process of writing a song. But I guess the thing that takes the most amount of time is that collaboration, or is the final parts of the song. So just polishing it up. So, but I could write a song in a day if I really wanted to, but it wouldn't be up to the standard that I would like it to be. It would just be an idea. But so it just takes time. And I think if you're writing towards something, be it an EP or a single or an album, especially with albums, then it takes time. Because I mean, for this album I wrote maybe anywhere from 50 to 70 songs.
Wow.
And then it's just a case of which ones are good enough to sort of finalize and which ones aren't good enough for this particular project. So but I mean, this is my 9 to 5 is this room. You know, I just write music all day and then put it out. So
That's pretty interesting. So, like you mentioned, like you have ample of songs, and then you like choose among them, and then decide to put it in an album. So you might be having songs, say, from previous album which didn't make the cut. So does it ever happen like you just come across the old track and like, maybe now I can use this? Does it happen?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It does. It's rare, but it definitely does happen. There was a song on this album which was a instrumental from the last album, and I wrote it towards the end of the last album, like just before it came out, and I liked it, but at the time I just felt like it didn't fit with those particular songs, so I sort of left it. And I didn't tour the last album because I was sort of in the zone, and I think that's the funny thing with like creativity, and I don't know if other people in other sort of art jobs do this as well, but when you're sort of in the flow, you don't want to stop, because if you stop, then you don't know whether you're going to have another big burst of creativity. So for me, I was really in the zone, so I decided not to tour, and I went straight back into writing music again. And that song in particular was done like the instrumental was done like early 2017, and then obviously the album didn't come out until March this year. So, you know, that song is like over 3 years old, but it went from a basic instrumental to a demo to a fully fledged song with a whole vocal on it and everything. So yeah, it like they take different stages and like a journey. So a song that I make today, that same song might sound completely different in like 6 months time, you know. Right. They just change. Yeah.
So do you feel like whatever you're creating today might not sound good or worse as time passes by? Do you ever feel that butterflies in your stomach, like, I want people to hear this, but they won't hear it for like X amount of time in future?
Definitely. Yeah, all the time. I mean it's gotten to the point now where like, I mean, for a fan of me, or for a fan of anyone else, like if I'm a fan of somebody else, like I understand why fans like a particular sound of a particular band. So let's say, I don't know, you like Radiohead or someone, that you like the sound of a particular album, but they then released another album and you didn't like that sound and you felt like they changed or whatever. Like I get that, because I do it with myself, because I listen to a song that I made like 10 years ago and I'm like, I don't, it, to me it sounds like amateurish or just cheap and not, not something that I would make now. But I understand why people like it. It doesn't go anywhere. It's still there. It's still up on Spotify or wherever. You can still listen to it. But for me, I kind of grow tired of it after a while. It's not that case with every song. There are some songs that I made 10 years ago that I still like, but certain songs I feel have sort of dated over time. So I do worry about that. Even with songs I release now, is a song that I put out today, is it still going to sound good in 10 years? Or is it going to sound like a product of its time? Kind of, that's the 2020 sound, So, I try to be a little kind of forward thinking and like future proof, but you never know. People would probably say that about music in like the 80s, that like, it's not gonna go anywhere from here, like this is how music's going to sound like forever, but it's not, and it always evolves and it always changes, so you kind of can't worry about it too much. So
I see.
Yeah.
So, although this is going to be difficult, but do you have a specific track which you really like from your album Saturday Night Fever? Is there any one specific track which is like, this is my favorite out of the bunch?
Actually, it kind of changes every now and then. I really like Dive. There's a song I did with an American girl called Hetty, and I really like that song. I like it because it's simple. It's not like over the top, and it's not really technical, but I just like the certain emotions that the song kind of gives off. I also like Play Along, which is the song from 2017, that, the oldest song on the album.
Oh, this is the one you were talking about.
Yeah.
I see. Nice.
And I'm trying to think what others I really, really like. It's funny because a lot of them, like, they mean certain things to me, but maybe not also like the collaboration and like the collaborator. So certain songs, like I wrote the lyrics and I got the singer to re-sing what I had come up with, but then other songs I just gave them an instrumental and said, can you write something to this, and they came up with the lyrics and the melody and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, like Better, for example, which was the first single, I wrote all the lyrics and the vocal melody, and then Lucy, who was the collaborator, she re-sang my vocal and put all these harmonies and everything, and I made it sound really good. So yeah, it's like knowing which songs to do that and which songs to be like, okay, like I've got a few ideas for this, but like I really want your input and I want to see what you bring to the table, because what the ideas that they have and the ideas that I have are going to be like completely different. So yeah.
I see. So I recently came to know you're the one who sang in One Night. I'm like, wow, that's really amazing. I really like One Night and Lights. Like, just so simple, yet it sounds so good. And it's a really great opening track for an album. I really like that one.
It's funny because the lyrics for Lights really reflect the pandemic, and that's not what we had in mind. Like, it was meant to be about like venues closing, because in the UK, like in the last like 10 years, something like half of all music venues and nightclubs have closed in 10 years.
Oh, is there a specific reason for that?
Just I guess like a number of reasons. One is like housing, so a lot of houses and development are being built up around like nightclubs, and then people complain because of the noise, and then nightclubs close. For venues, it's like the youth don't go out as much as they used to, and so they kind of they're affected by that. I mean, there's a million different reasons, but I just wanted to write a song about it, and I thought it would make for a good because I had the title of Saturday Night Griever for quite a while. I liked the fact that it was like obviously a nod to Saturday Night Fever, but and like disco, but at the same time, Saturday Night Griever, it's like, morning Saturday nights because people don't go out anymore. So but little did I know that the pandemic was going to happen, and now those lyrics, like, they take on like a whole new meaning.
No, I was like, wow, this fits so well. But I mean, like, I'm pretty sure he didn't do it in 2020 itself, but oh, what a genius.
I wish I did, but I can't take credit for that. So yeah.
So talking about your album again, you mentioned it started like 2-3 years ago, and then I recently read the comments from Spotify's CEO where he was mentioning how artists should, release music more often, like in a year or so. I know it's difficult, but still, what would you like to say? Like, how would it be possible for you if you're forced to do it? I don't think you would enjoy it, but what's your view on that?
No, I understand what he's saying.
Mhm.
I was because they obviously Spotify is very driven by algorithms, and they need constant music to make these algorithms work well. So I understand where he's coming from, but at the same time, it's like that completely goes against like that's literally quantity over quality. And if you rush an album or you rush a single, then it's gonna sound bad because you're worrying about, oh, I haven't put a song out this month or this year, I need to put something out. So yeah, I'm kind of like two sides about it. Like, it makes me mad because it's like, well, some of the best albums like of all time like took a few years to write. So it's like if they're all rushed, they wouldn't exist. So
I mean, I'm still waiting for Daft Punk's new album, but it's been a long wait. But let's see if at all we'll get a new album.
I mean, they always take their time. They always have. But yeah, I mean, they kind of like take the piss a bit, and it's always like 10 years in between albums, and especially like they did Human After All, which was like recorded in like 6 weeks or something, and so it's like they could rush an album out if they wanted to, but like they like making us wait. So
if I had to ask, like, do you have any specific idols in terms of whose music you really adore or look up to, as for inspiration or anything?
So many. Like old artists, I guess. Like, although I was born in like 1990, I really resonate with the 80s for some reason. So, like, I love like Prince and Michael Jackson and Stevie Wonder and all those kind of 80s guys, and like Madonna and people. But then growing up, especially in like the early 2000s, I was really inspired by like house music, and that was such a big part of my childhood that a lot of the French guys, but also the English guys, were sort of big at that time. So people like Daft Punk, people like Fatboy Slim and Basement Jaxx and The Prodigy, all these sort of like I guess now they're like juggernauts of electronic music. But yeah, so pretty much like, I mean, obviously like I like a lot of like really obscure sort of 80s funk music and stuff, but there's something about those big guys that's like really inspiring, that they can, what they achieved, and the sounds and the sort of innovation, and I've always been like inspired by those two things, really, just 80s funk and house music. And I'd like to think that, and I guess pop, but I like to think my music is just like a combination of all those things. So yeah, hopefully that shows.
Yeah, your sound literally is like, there's a certain sound signature to it, for the lack of a better word. But yeah, it's amazing. I really like it.
Thank you.
So let's take a little diversion from music, and let's talk a little bit about tech. So here's a traditional question I ask like everyone. So what's your daily driver? In the sense, like, what phone do you use?
Okay, so I have an iPhone 10. And I've kind of always been a bit of an iPhone kind of addict. So my first one was a 3G, I think. Then I had a 4, then I had a 5, then I had a 7 Plus, and now I've got a 10. And yeah, like, I mean, Apple kind of gets like a bit of a bad rap these days, but I still like the simplicity of it. And yeah, I'm sure there's a million other things that you can do on other phones, but yeah, I just there's something about the design of it and the workflow of it. I just really like iOS, and likewise with Mac OS. I just like the sort of the simplicity of it and the ease of use, and that everything's like linked to each other, and it just makes your life so much simpler, and you don't have to think about things. Whereas typically with like PCs, I hate like viruses and like pop-ups and all that kind of stuff, and it just really annoys me. But I've never had like an Android phone, so I don't really know what it's like to have an Android. So
interesting. So some people really dive into the whole process of comparing two ecosystems, and I'm like, listen, you try out whatever you want, and whatever works for you is best for you. There is no fight in between. One is better than the other. No, it doesn't work like.
I think the gap has closed a little as well. The difference between an iPhone and the latest Samsung is just like they're really not that different anymore. They used to be, like 5-10 years ago.
True.
There was quite a big difference, but these days, like, they even look the same. Like you look at them and they're just like, that little black mirror that looks at you, and they're just like, they all look the same, they all act the same. I mean, yeah, like you say, it's whatever you're used to, and I don't really think, I think there's a place for everything in terms of that. It's likewise with like I say, with like PC and Mac. Like there's certain software that tends to work better with Macs, and then obviously there's programs made for Mac, but then equally there's programs that are great on Windows that run really well on Windows. So yeah, I'm not like a snob with that kind of thing, and I use both on every day. I use Windows, and I use I have like a MacBook as well, a 2015 MacBook Pro. So there's a place for everything. So
True. Are you aware that now there are foldables in the market? Phone that literally folds?
Yeah. I mean, I saw something, was it yesterday? I saw something that blew my mind, is that there's some, I think it's a Chinese company, that they've figured out how to put the front-facing camera like behind the screen.
Yeah.
So, like, that's amazing. That's so cool.
So that's going to show up in 2021, and then it'll be mass-produced for some more headsets. So that's going to be interesting. Seriously.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's still like cool things that are coming out, and there's still like innovation, and there's still I just think it's like it's happening at a slower rate now. I mean, you have to wait a little bit, like it's like TVs. Like we know there's like 4K and 8K and et cetera, and there's all these different LEDs and OLEDs and all this kind of stuff, but it's like price tag is such a thing, isn't it? There's like,
True.
I'm sure we'd all love to have like an 8K TV, but it's like,
and people would
it's
still
expensive.
watch. And people would still watch full HD content on it. So yeah, there's that.
Yeah. I guess that there's that as well. There's the limitation of the things that you use, so it doesn't really make sense to have, like you say, like an 8K TV if you're just gonna watch, SD or HD stuff. So yeah.
You got a new PC recently, right?
Yeah. It's the first time I've like got one built. I've always just like had a PC out of the box, and like notoriously always gone with Mac and always gone with like MacBooks or Mac Minis. So yeah, this is like the first time I was just like, well, because I looked at the new like MacBook, and it was okay, but like for the price, I was just like, well, I could like have somebody build me one and it'd be better. So yeah, but I'm really happy with it. It's so much like a massive improvement from what I had before. So
Yeah, about the same because I was using like laptops before. Then I was like, considering the pandemic and everything, I usually get my laptops from US because it turns out to be cheaper. So this time around, because of Corona and everything, I was like, okay, I'm going to build my own PC, and it turned out to be pretty cheap, and it's pretty powerful. So yeah, not complaining. Oh, what's the specs of your PC?
okay, so it's an i9, so just an Intel i9. The RAM is 64.
Nice.
What else did I go for? I'm trying to remember now. It's got 2 SSDs in it. One is a 2 terabyte. One is a 500 terabyte. No, sorry, 500 gig. And that's just got like Windows on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
Do you game though?
do I game? No, not really. I like a little, but no, not really. I've always been more of a console person. I don't know why. Like, I'm sure this PC is like quite capable of running some good games, but like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I like to separate it.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, it makes sense because you want to have a separate working PC and then something to just lay back and enjoy.
Yeah, and I think it's so easy to like have your PC just become like unusable because you've got so much stuff on it.
Yeah.
Especially like for what I do, like music files are so big and they take up so much space. It's like makes so much more sense to just have a whole SSD just for music stuff and then a whole SSD just for like running Windows. So it just runs so much quicker. So yeah,
I can only.
and I know games are quite big as well. So I don't want to like add more stuff to it. So
You were mentioning about like you prefer gaming on consoles, right? So which console do you own personally?
well, it's funny because I've completely shot myself in the foot now because actually my last console that I had was a PS3.
Oh.
So I completely skipped out PS4, but now I'm really looking forward to PS5, and I think I'm definitely going to buy one, especially as now it's got like the backwards, you can play PS4 games,
Correct.
on a PS5. So yeah, like I'm just gonna catch up with like all the great PS4 games on my PS5.
Funny you mentioned that because just like 5 minutes before our call, Xbox released the prices for their next gen consoles. So there's like Xbox Series X and Series S. I hate their naming scheme, but that's what it is.
What do you think of the look?
It looks like PC. The Series X looks like a PC. And
I thought it just looks like a well, it looks like two things. It looks like a walkie-talkie.
yeah, the smaller one
and
looks like a walkie-talkie.
yeah, and it also looks like those like those portable like cooking things. It looks like one of them, but I don't really understand what that part is. Is that where the fan is? Because if that's where the fan is, like if it's that big, it's going to be quite loud, right? Like,
yeah, it's going to be loud.
yeah, like I don't know if I like that. Like, do you want a really loud console? Like,
I mean,
I don't
that
know.
was the thing which really troubled the PS4 early in the generation because it used to, ramp up the speeds of the fans really fast. But now with PS5, they're like, okay, we're going to take good measures. It's going to have good cooling. And it looks so tacky in a manner of speaking. It looks really different. It doesn't look like a console.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting. It was a clever move for Xbox to, release their pricing when they have. And I feel like it's really shot like PS5 down because I mean obviously they can't really change the console at this point, and I'm sure like there's loads of them in a factory somewhere, so it's like whatever their pricing is, they're not going to be able to budge on it too much. So if it's too expensive, then obviously everyone's then going to buy an Xbox. But I suppose like for me it's always been about the games, it's like that, like okay, one might look slightly better than the other one, or one might be slightly cheaper than the other one, but like if the games on the new Xbox are rubbish, then like I'm not gonna get it.
Exactly.
I've always liked PlayStation because of the games. Like they always
Exactly.
have the games are a lot more interesting to me than Xbox games.
That's
But
what they did.
that's
Like,
just me.
yeah, I mean, same. I echo your sentiments as well. So, where Xbox fucked up real bad in the last generation was they priced it $100 more expensive than the PS4. And then they tried to backtrack a lot, but yeah, they lost the war essentially. This is interesting because Series X is going to be way more, it's going to be significantly powerful, but it's $499. So I wonder what's the price of PS5. But yeah, there was going to be
Yeah.
one hero game for Xbox, which is supposed to come at launch. Now it's not happening. It's called Halo Infinite. Did you see the memes around it? Oh my god. They had to like delay the whole game. Like, okay, we have no games at launch. Which is kind of embarrassing for Xbox, but I guess.
I also don't understand why, and they're both as guilty as each other, that both PlayStation and Xbox aren't really showing much gameplay. Like, all of their
PS5 did.
trailers are just,
PS5 did.
like, you know, not in-game footage, and it's just like, well, just show us what the games look like. That's all we care about. We don't
Yeah.
care about a fancy trailer. Just give us gameplay, and then we'll make our mind up which one we want to buy. So, yeah,
So,
strange
I think
move.
last week or 2 weeks ago, PS5 showed some gameplay footage, which was amazing because they were also showcasing the speeds of SSD. Like literally, words were loading in a split second. That was really nice. And they have like a whole catalog of games at launch. So that's what I love about PlayStation. They have like exclusive games which are high quality, and that's what you want in a gaming console. And I have a good time.
I mean, it was interesting, like, looking back, like, with the last Xbox, that, like, you know, the whole thing where they were kind of concentrating more on, like, films
Oh, that
and,
was a
like,
bad move.
like it, you know, it tried to be, like, an all-in-one rather than a games console, but that's what people buy them for. They buy them for the games. And then, obviously, you know, having PlayStation 4 be for the players, which is pretty funny. So it'll be interesting if a similar thing happens this time round, that if PlayStation 5 get, you know, really are just way too expensive, then I don't know whether it will need a gimmick to bring people back. I don't know.
It
I
has a
mean,
lot of gimmicks though. Like the whole controller itself is amazing. For Xbox, it's the literally same controller from One X and One S, but on PS5, oh my god, they literally changed the whole controller itself.
I'm really interested in the new sound thing. I don't really understand what the hell it is or what it does, but it sounds cool.
Yeah. So there was a beta test which was leaked where Sony asked to click a picture of your ear and then send it to them because they were doing some sound tech for their Tempest sound engine, which is interesting. They're like, just send it over, we will do the thing, we'll do the unicorn magic, and we will hear good sound.
I mean, that's one thing that Sony have always been good at is sound. You know, that's like one of their strengths. Like, games and music have always been Sony's strengths. Movies, less so.
Well, that's something which. Well, Spider-Man Into the Verse. Did you watch it? That was a good one, though. The whole,
Yeah.
the whole animated one. But otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, they're not great, are they? They're okay. They're not terrible films, but compared to, you know, some of the big guys, it's just like I feel like they have too much control over their films. Like
I think so, yeah.
you know, they try to rein it in and make it all cost effective and, you know, spend as little money as they can, but it never pays off. But yeah, Into the Spideyverse,
They
yeah,
try.
that's kind of the exception.
Yeah. Okay, we will circle back to movies real quick, but just wrapping up the console thingy. So there are going to be two variants of PS5, one with the disk drive and one without the disk drive. And of course, the one which is diskless will be cheaper. So personally, which one would you opt for?
I would probably still go for the one with the disc. Like, I understand why people would go for the digital one, but I don't know, something about, I mean, I guess I'm old school, but I like, you know, owning like the physical thing. But also, and I noticed this with like, I don't know if it's the same with the PS4, but especially with the PS3. If you download a game like through the PlayStation Store or whatever, they could at any point just take it off the PlayStation Store. So, it's on my console, but then when I click on it, it says, it doesn't exist anymore, so I can't play it. It's not, it doesn't exist on the PlayStation Store, so somehow it doesn't exist on my console, even though I know it exists on my console because I downloaded it. So I guess if you have a disc, like, it completely, eliminates that. So every single time you put your disc in your console, unless obviously you smash your disc, like, it's gonna work every time. So I mean, I guess that's what they want to do, is that they're heading towards discless, and that there's never going to be any more discs anymore, and that everything's going to be downloaded, which kind of makes sense, and everything's digital these days. So but digital's not always better. Like, I don't know, like,
something about analog stuff is really nice.
Yeah, like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. It's like, people thought that with music. People thought that, in the 80s, that digital was the way to go and everything had to be digital, and so they, like, sold all that analog gear, and then all the analog gear became really expensive because no one was making it anymore. And now we've got this weird hybrid of, like, you have to buy vintage things which are analog in order to sound good. And it's just, like, doesn't make any sense. Like, there's a place for both. So I take on board the fact that they have a digital and a disc. It makes sense to have both. So I kind of hope moving forward, maybe that they might keep that for, like, the PlayStation 6 and 7 or wherever they go. But I mean, that's, like, being optimistic. I'm sure they are going to go digital, but yeah.
So there were, like, two sides of the same coin. One was the fact that once you have the disc with you, you can sell it off or rent it. There's, like, a recurring cost of sorts. Like, you can sell it off, buy another one. So that kind of bridges the gap of the price difference between the digital version and the physical version. And the second fact being, people were saying they might not be a PS6 because whole gaming is already in cloud. So Google offers something called Stadia. I'm not sure if you're aware of. So it's like a completely cloud gaming solution. All you need is a display, whether it's your phone, PC, or TV. Just hook up your controller and you can game. So it's like Xbox is already working on it, and maybe PlayStation will too. So who knows?
But we're not there yet. It's like the technology is there, but nobody's internet is good. Like, there's still a large portion of the world that's still on dial-up. Like, like we're nowhere near that point yet. Like, I get it, the technology is there, but no one's internet is that good. Like, you just be a choppy experience, and then it, like, ruins the game for you because you can't play the game that you want to play. So like, improve internet speeds, and then maybe we can have that conversation. But right now, like, it's just, like, it's too far away. It's too far away.
I tried it too. Not a good experience. Although I don't have a shitty internet, I have a pretty good one. I'm like 200 Mbps down and up, and, like, still it wasn't working that well. So, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you just need to have, like, one little dip, and then it's like, yeah, exactly. So yeah, like, it's one of those things where, like, you could provide it, and I guess there's that tiny little percentage of people who probably got, like, absolutely amazing internet that could play it, but I just feel like for the masses it's not really suitable yet. So
I mean, the next generation will at least last for 5 years at least, so they still have time to catch up to the standards and all. Alright, so let's wrap up gaming and let's talk a little bit about movies. So have you been watching any, say, TV series or specific movies in the pandemic?
I'm trying to think. I've just literally, I'm like episode 2 in Cobra Kai. I just started Cobra Kai. What else have I been watching? I'm all up to date with The Boys. So I've watched episode 1, 2, and 3 of The Boys. Trying to think what else. What movies have I seen recently? I saw Tenet. I went to the cinema and saw Tenet.
How was the experience going out to the theaters? during a
Yeah,
pandemic.
like actually, like it really surprised me. So they only like let a certain amount of people into like the main sort of foyer where you buy your tickets. So there was only like 10 people allowed in that part. So that
Oh,
was cool. And obviously you have to like wear your mask like through all of that part. And then you have someone like in the UK. Usually you buy your ticket and then you go through to the main theater and then you sit down and you watch your film. But they've put in like a system so somebody takes you to your seat now. So
oh,
they'll like walk you through and like show you where you need to sit. And then once you're sat, you can take your mask off. And they let it so you have to have like per household, you have to have like 2 seats in between,
okay.
so you're like socially distanced in there. But in the same way, when you leave, like the lights come up at the end of the film, and then they kind of get you to leave like row by row, so you can't just all go at the same time. So yeah, like it was it was like a pleasant enough experience, and it made sense. But Tenet, on the other hand, like I echo like what everyone else is saying, that you literally cannot understand what people are saying in that film. Like, I'm sure it's a really good film, but I could not hear anything that people were saying. Like, that's a problem with your film when you can't figure it out. Like,
I would have loved to go to the theater and watch, but no. India is literally the second most country with the highest
mhm.
number of cases. So yeah, I'm not risking that. I'm gonna just magically download it from the internet and watch.
I'm sure it'll be available. Like, that's another cool thing that I like.
It
I kind
already
of like
is.
the yeah. Well, yeah.
So yeah.
Definitely. But no, I kind of like the fact that lots of things are like come into streaming services like straight away or whatever.
Mm.
Like, I think that's cool. And something that I saw like a few years ago that I kind of wish more like big film companies did was Jurassic World did, like, Warner Brothers put on YouTube like a short. It was about like 10 minutes long, just a small short that they did in between films. And I kind of wish that more studios would do that kind of thing, just like a free little short that you can put on YouTube. It kind of like, it's like an additional bit of like promotion for the next film, because the next film isn't out yet. And I kind of wish, like the power of YouTube, like YouTube's like, massive. Everyone's got YouTube, everyone watches it. So it just seems silly that more big like film production studios aren't doing it. So I wish that kind of happened more. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that film studios really have that much to worry about with the pandemic anyway, because they make so much money. So yeah, it wouldn't take a lot for them to break even, but
Yeah. So like
that's a whole other story.
like Disney Plus recently released Mulan,
hmm
and they are charging $30 on top of your current subscription. People are like, oh,
Yeah,
what is
yeah,
this? And
yeah.
people are not liking the movie, but what do you think?
And
Or like, would you
supposedly,
pay $30 on top of your current subscription just to watch
no,
one movie?
definitely not. And especially as supposedly in December it's going to be free anyway.
Oh, is
Apparently,
it? I
yeah,
didn't read
yeah.
about that. Okay.
So it's only, you're paying like $30 just to see it before everyone else does. So you might as well just wait
Yes.
till December,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I echo what you say. Like, supposedly the film's, I haven't seen it, but supposedly the film's not very good anyway. So
Is there any specific movie which you're looking forward to?
Um, I'm intrigued by the new Batman, but I'm also slightly worried because supposedly they've only filmed like 25% of the film or something, and then obviously lockdown happened, and then they tried to start filming again, and Robert Pattinson got coronavirus, and so it's like it's kind of a bit doomed. And I'm amazed that they managed to make a trailer with 25% of the film like finished. Like, I mean, that, and it made sense. The trailer made sense.
It wasn't like a hodgepodge job, but yeah, it was cohesive and coherent. So I like it.
Yeah, yeah.
Some people were like, it's way too dark. I'm like, Batman is supposed to be dark. what were we
Yeah, yeah.
expecting from the movie? But yeah.
I like that they've gone back to basics and that they're finally doing it from like a detective point of view. You know, for me, that's what Batman's always been like. You know, he's the world's greatest detective or whatever. Like, and it's less about superhero-y stuff, because I kind of have a bit of superhero fatigue. That's why I guess I like The Boys, is because they're kind of taking the piss out of every single thing to do with superheroes, and it's quite, it's funny to laugh at because it's so true, everything in it. It's just become a bit of a cliche at the moment. So I don't know how I feel about the new like Marvel films that are supposed to be coming out. Like,
It's like
again,
everybody's facing that Marvel fatigue right now after the whole Thanos saga just ended. Everybody wants a bit of space. Like, okay, let us breathe now.
Yeah, it felt like it all came to a nice end with a bow, and now to think about starting from scratch again and building up a whole story and universe again, it just seems, I mean, it seems funny that the first like return for Marvel is going to be Black Widow. It's like someone who pretty much isn't a superhero. Like, it's like, I'm really not interested in a Black Widow film. Like, she's probably my least favorite character out of all like the Avengers. But
same, but at the same time, the way she died in the movie was pretty lame. I'm like, that was so quick.
And now we're going back to like a prequel.
Yeah, we're going back to a prequel. Like, what's happening? Yeah, there's that. Are you excited about the Snyder cut of Justice League?
I sort of, but I mean, I didn't really like the original, so
Same.
I'm intrigued to see what it will be like. Like, it might be a completely different film, but I'm sure they're gonna keep most of the stuff that's in the other film. I just see it as more of an extended director's cut, so there's probably like an extra half an hour, 2 hours, whatever
added
on top. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really like the original,
one. So who knows? Maybe it's good.
And I'm not the biggest Zack Snyder fan either. Like, he's okay, like, but the last thing I probably liked that he did was like 300. So
well, that was a good one.
But yeah, I mean, DC have got it so wrong for so long, and I really liked Joker. I thought Joker was amazing,
yes,
and
was amazing.
And I really hope that they go down that route more. And I wish they'd stop trying to like copy Marvel and be funny, and the whole dark thing really works for them. Like Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy is like, there's a little bit of comedy, but for the most part they're pretty serious films. So, and that worked really well. So I kind of hope that they continue what they started with Joker, and they just do lots of serious adaptations of like, and do villains that we haven't seen before on the big screen. There's so many good like villains in the DC world that I'd love to see, like, I don't know, like a Clayface or something. That would be fun. Yeah, it'd be really cool. Yeah.
Well, we're getting Penguin and Riddler in the upcoming Batman movie. Oh, that's going to be amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, taking it from a serious point of view, like, I love Jim Carrey, but did anyone like his Riddler? Like, he was just kind of playing himself.
Yeah, he was playing Jim Carrey, just like in the Sonic movie. He wasn't playing Dr. Eggman, he was playing himself. So, yeah.
Like, I loved seeing him in Sonic, and he is still funny, and he's still great, but he's just Jim Carrey at this point.
Yeah. I mean, the whole Sonic movie, the whole phase of being so bad and then being redesigned for something that was better than I expected. I had my expectations so low. When I watched the movie, I was like, this is not bad. This is watchable. This is fine.
I'm kind of slightly worried that might be the future of things now, that certain things leak with films, or maybe a film studio purposely puts stuff out there early to then see what the audience thinks and then change it,
I think that was a purposeful move from them because if you see, I was checking out some behind the scenes footage for the movie. They already had the redesigned Sonic figure while shooting the movie. I'm like, so this was a marketing move. They released a
Hmm.
whole trailer with like shitty Sonic, and then like, okay, we're going to work hard, and then redesign the Sonic again. It worked for them at least. There were the
It
memes,
did,
everything.
but yeah, I am worried that it will become a trend, and something like that can go so wrong because like it went okay for them, but imagine if people completely boycotted the film because
Oof.
they, even if they changed it and they just completely boycotted it, it wouldn't have been good financially, but yeah, so slightly worrying.
Alright, let's take a quick coffee break. Talking about which, now you can literally buy me one. Yeah, just check out the link in the description. Not only can you support the podcast, but also opt for a membership which provides additional benefits. What kind of benefits, you might ask? Well, you get access to a members only Discord where we can game together with like minded individuals. You might even recognize some familiar faces out there. You'll also get extra members only content and you get to suggest guests and topics. And it's an ever growing list of benefits. So if you like what you hear, just head over to buymeacoffee.com/YATP. Yeah, it's that simple. Pick your poison and voila, you're done. And now that the coffee break is over, let's resume with the episode. All right, so pivoting from movies and TV shows, let's go back to music production and everything. So, okay, say if there's someone who, wants to start into the whole realm of music production, how can the person really start from ground up, from scratch?
Yeah, I would say maybe like download like a demo of something because there's lots of free demos that you can download of digital audio workstations. So off the top of my head, there's like Cubase and Logic and Ableton, FL Studio, all these other different doors, and a lot of them have, like I say, free demos that you can download. So they might have like a trial on them. So it might be like a 30-day trial or something like that, and then you have to buy like the full thing. So I would say if you're not into music production but you're intrigued by it and you want to give it a go, download a trial, play around with it for those 30 days, see how you get on. If you're confused by the whole thing and you don't know what the hell you're doing, maybe give another one a go. But to be honest, like the best advice I can give is like not to read a manual because it will just confuse the hell out of you, and you'll get so much more out of it if you just click lots of buttons and see what this does and see what that does, because you can't go wrong. You can't if it all goes really weird, then you can just close it and open it again and it will go back to how it was before. So so I would say do that and just play around and see how far you get, and if you like a certain one, then buy the whole thing. Or I didn't say this, but you could obviously download a crack and a illegal copy,
Yeah.
which is, to be fair, and I should talk about this, is I did it. When I was a kid, I had an early copy of FL Studio and I downloaded the like illegal version of it, and I used it for a few years, and I did a video with a magazine called Future Music, and it's when I like talking through what I'm doing, and someone at FL Studio saw that I had a legal version of their software, and rather than getting in touch and saying, hey, you should be paying for for our program, they were really cool about it and said, here's free lifetime upgrades. So I was like, wow,
Good.
this is amazing. So that's a cool way to look at it. And now I like them even more so for doing that, and I always sing their praises, and they're a good company in my books. So I always try and recruit people on board, even though I didn't buy it myself. But yeah.
Well, that's great. So talking about the whole process of creating music, say you just start with the melodies and then you go and play around in FL Studio, and you get the vocals, mix and match everything. Then you mentioned that you give it to someone to master the whole project. So, what does mastering mean for someone who doesn't know?
So mastering is like the final stage of the song. So the song is finished and it's basically getting the best out of the finished song. So for example, making sure it's as loud as it could be before, like distortion, like digital distortion. Making sure that it's not too bassy or too trebly, like the stereo width. So making sure that it's as wide as it could be, without sounding weird. Just like, I guess, like corrections and almost like a checklist, and you're kind of ticking things off and making sure that it's I guess like up to standard with every other song out there. So if you were to play one of my songs next to somebody else on Spotify, they'd be treated in the same way in terms of quality, I guess. So sometimes I master things myself, and I know a little bit about mastering, so I'm lucky enough to be able to do some of it myself, but sometimes it's just better to hand it over to someone else who really knows what they're doing, and they'll make it sound really crisp and really nice. So yeah, that's mastering.
I see. So suppose you choose okay, 11 songs for Saturday Night Creep, and then you decide, okay, I'm going to release the album. What are the steps and processes that goes through up till the release of the album? In the sense okay, I have these songs, what do I do next?
Okay, so once it's been mastered, because that's usually what happens, I have the songs that I think will be I suppose before that, it might be a track list. So I might be like, okay, so if I really go back and I say, I've got 70 songs, which ones of these 70 are going to be the final songs? So you whittle it down to 20, and then 20 to 11, or however many you want the final piece to be. Then you decide on the track list. So, what's going to be the opening song, what's going to be track 2, track 3, etc. Then it goes to mastering. So, makes it sound really good. Then it's typically artwork. So what is the cover of the album or the single or the EP? Sometimes that takes a little bit of time. So you might be doing other things while that's happening. Then at some stage, you're going to want to submit it to a distributor, and the distributor basically puts it in stores. So they'll put it on Apple Music, Spotify, Deezer, all the other ones out there. Depending on your distributor, certain ones will get you in physical stores. So, if there's a music shop or whatever down your street, then if you have vinyl or CD, if you have copies of them, that's a whole thing in itself, because you'd have to contact a vinyl pressing plant to press vinyl and things like that. And then after that, it's things like sorting out the PR side of it. So how are you going to promote the album? How are you going to market the album? The strange thing now is that, and I guess the difference between an artist and a musician today and an artist and a musician even 15 years ago, is that now you're kind of expected to be everything in one. So you're kind of expected to be to know about editing video, to know about graphic design, to know about marketing and promotion, and you're almost like a business now. You're like a record label, because traditionally a record label would do all these things for you. You'd sign on the dotted line and they would do all these things, but ultimately you'd still be paying for it. They would just pay for it up front and then take the money back from your sales of your record. But now, and especially because so many musicians these days are starting up their own record labels, you're kind of expected to do it all. So a record label really is sort of somewhere to do all of that for you. So they will pay for your music video. They will put your song up on, all the distributors. They will, pay someone to do artwork for you. They will, all this kind of stuff. They're almost like a management company in a way, but they're more the music business side of things. So, and some people still prefer that. Some people like to do all the creative stuff and not think about the business side of things. But I just think it's becoming harder and harder to do that these days, especially because of places like Instagram where, you have to think about your image a bit more. You have to think about, how you want to be shown to like the rest of the world. And these days, like they say, like the cliche of content is king, and you have to constantly be thinking about new ways to get people's attention. And it's like the Wild West out there, because everyone's like screaming at you, like, buy my music, stream me, and it's like, you're fighting against all these different people. And I guess the big guys, like the top 40 artists are the ones that obviously sign, $1 million, if not more, record deals with, the big major labels. And the major labels have obviously got a lot of money that they can spend on promotion and marketing, and they can get it to more people. Plus, obviously, a lot of them own shares in some of the big companies like Spotify, like Warner and I think Sony own certain parts of Spotify. So, it's in their, they almost have like a one up in terms of, getting their music out there. So yeah, it's still a fight, and it's still a competition, and it's still a battle, but in terms of the process, it's pretty much the same as it's always been. It's just that you're doing it now rather than somebody else. So
instead of like a traditional path, like have you ever considered something offbeat? By offbeat, I mean like utilizing social media in the sense like memes, maybe memes around, say, around you specifically, or memes around some music, or doing something across the brand which would like resonate with people, and they're like curious, what's this about?
I definitely, and there are people that do that, but I think it's sort of like a two-sided thing, because I think if you rely too much on memes and that side of things and going viral and being like internet famous, then people will know you for that one thing, or they'll know you for memes and not really care about the music. I mean, there's some people that, there's musicians that I follow on like Instagram, and I follow them because they post funny things, or they talk to the camera and I like what they have to say, but I don't listen to them on Spotify, So it's like, it's exactly. So it's like, it's one of those things where, how do you want to be known? Do you want to be known for the music, or do you want to be known for memes, or do you want to try and figure out the balance between the two? And that's something that I'm trying to do, but how successful I am at it is sort of up to interpretation.
I mean, one must always try different things, and who knows what kind of Venn diagram intersects, and you might get one or the other on both sides of things.
Definitely. Yeah.
So I also remember reading somewhere that you were going to start a new alias. So what's that about?
I guess because I write a lot of music, and I feel like I have a bit of brand awareness with Louis, and I know what Louis is, and I know how Louis sounds, and what people like about Louis. But I still write a lot of other music that I feel like doesn't really fit in with that sound. And I don't want to alienate people by putting out music that they're not going to enjoy. So, but I know that there is an audience for that particular sound. So at some point, probably next year at this point, I have an idea for an alias that I just want to do just on the side, just as an output to to put this music out, because if not, it will just sit on my hard drive and it won't see the light of day, you know. And I feel that it's good enough that certain people will like it, just maybe not the fans and the fan base that I've built up until this point. So
See, so yeah, and that kind of gives you the perfect opportunity to, experiment things. Like, hey, let me try this, let me try that, and just go crazy. Who knows?
definitely, and there are definitely artists that can do that. There are artists that can mix things up every now and then, and change the genre, like, drastically. But yeah, I'm just conscious of not wanting to alienate people. I mean, I have done stuff that is different. I mean, I started out in house music, and over time I've changed to like more disco-y stuff to more pop stuff. So it's not like my sound hasn't changed, because it has, but I feel like it's in a way where it's kind of done tastefully or isn't too far removed from where I started. Whereas some of the music that I'm talking about that, I want to put out is a lot more experimental and a lot less approachable and more, yeah, just complex. And I know that there's some people that don't like that kind of stuff and like a bit more, middle of the road, more traditional music, I guess. So, yeah.
If I had to ask, like, is there a certain genre of music which you haven't touched yet, or you feel like, hey, how about I try this genre of music? And do you have like any certain like inclinations towards something?
It kind of changes all the time. I mean, I've written some stuff that's like sounds like a film score. I've written
Ooh.
some stuff that's sounds like it could be in like a video game. I've written some stuff that's like ambient. Sometimes it's more like aggressive sort of dance music. Sometimes it's more chilled out stuff. I think something I've always wanted to do, but haven't really done, is like more of a live thing in terms of like having an actual band. But it's just so much effort to do that, and to get, not only to like find people that you trust, but I'm quite protective with my music. Like, obviously I collaborate with people, and I like collaborating with people, but in terms of like ideas, like I'm quite quite controlling with like how I like my music and how I want my music to be. So it would be trying to find people that are okay with that, people that the drummer's okay with playing a drum pattern that I tell him to play, rather than giving me ideas about drum beats.
I see.
Or likewise, like a bass player who, oh, maybe we should play this line like this, and like trust me enough to know how something should sound. But I mean, that's just me. So, but yeah, other than that, like I say, I'm getting more and more into like film stuff, and so I would quite like to one day do something for some sort of visual piece, and whether it be a short film or a film or a TV show or whatever, that interests me. And I think especially as in more recent years, it's kind of got cooler, and it's kind of got a bit more, and I guess this is just due to trends, a bit more electronic. All like massive films these days, big blockbusters, pretty much they're all pretty much done by someone like me who's just sat in a studio and experimenting and writing stuff on a computer, and then at the very last minute, those fake strings that they had on their computer, they'll send the scores to an actual orchestra somewhere in London, and they will replay what he played on the computer. So it's really not that far away from what I do anyway, but and there are like scores, like Stranger Things, for example, where there's no orchestra. It's all synthesizers and just a few guys sat down in front of a computer. So yeah, and that kind of intrigues me, and I think there's lots of room for experimentation there, because there's like just new avenues to go down, I think, with film scores. It's opening up, because it's always been very like traditional and like, this is what a film score should sound like, and now it's like, oh, okay, you can do that and you can do that. And yeah.
Have you ever considered like pitching your music to, say, a film or a game dev studio? Like, hey, how about you use my music? I have some demos which you might like. Have you ever done that?
Yeah, definitely. It's something that so traditionally that's what a publisher would do. If you have a music publisher, or a publisher kind of shops your music out there to different places for placements of your music. But publishers are like very hard to come by, and I still don't have one. I'm what they call self-published. So, if that were to happen, I would literally have to get in contact with, a film company or the music director of a film or whatever, and ask him, I've got some music. Whereas a publisher would do that for me and would know certain contacts and certain people to pitch it to. So that's something that I've always wanted, was a publisher, but it's just so hard to, and typically publishers like a big catalog of music, so they say you should get like a publisher like 10-20 years into your career, because then they've got like a catalog of music that they can pitch to places. Whereas if you're only a year into your music career, typically you haven't got that much music. So I'm definitely interested, and I'm amazed when like a Netflix show plays music from somebody that I follow, or someone that I like. It's like amazing, like, oh, they know who this person is. So it's almost like that has been the way, especially now with like record sales aren't what they used to be, and obviously a lot of musicians make their money elsewhere, be it shows or different things, and I think publishing and what they call sync licensing, which is when you put your music to different films and TV, it pays so much more than streaming services ever do. So it annoys me that like places like Spotify and Apple Music pay so little, and especially as that like their system that they have in place, it's not like if I get one stream, I get paid for that stream. It's like it has to be a certain number of streams, and also it's to do with like the pot of money. So like with the streams that I get, it will go into a pot, but then the streams that, I don't know, someone huge like The Weeknd or something, his money goes into the same pot. So the money that I'm getting and the money that they're getting is a mixture of mine and their money. So it's a very weird system. Very weird.
That's interesting. Okay, so if I were to ask, what's the best way to support you guys? Like buying your music, streaming it, how? Like, what's the best thing which you would want for yourself?
I guess like, I mean, I've never really been in it for the fame or the money. I just, if somebody likes what I do, then I'm happy. If I've like impacted somebody with my music, or if someone's a fan, then great. So I guess for me, just like anyone that reaches out, or anyone that comes to a show, or anyone that listens to me on Spotify or whatever, then that's enough for me. Like as long as they have enough money to pay my rent, then I'm cool. I don't need like bags and bags of money, and I don't want it either. So like I guess it depends on the individual, and different people get into the music industry for different reasons. But for me personally, like, yeah, just all those things, and just people that like what I do. That's where I get enjoyment from. If someone says something, or if somebody, comments on something or whatever, it's like, that's enough. So yeah.
I see. So, okay, correct me if I'm wrong. Ever After Records is your record label?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's like, considering it's your own record label, so it only looks after LLR, or are there some other artists as well?
Yeah, so I started it in 2009, and up until maybe 2 years ago, it had just been my releases. So it was just a way for me to put out music. But yeah, about 2 years ago, I decided, I've got this platform in place. I've got a system that works now. It'd be stupid for me to not open up the doors to other people and music that I like and artists that I like. So, that's exactly what I did. And I've started to slowly start to sign small artists that I like the sound of. And, I've kind of got used to that system now, that I know what I'm doing when it's time to release a song. So, I'll do the promotion, I'll do the marketing, I'll, put your music in front of this person and that person, because over the years I've got a certain amount of contacts, and have somewhat of a platform. I hate that word, but somewhat of a platform. So why not use it? So that's basically what I've started to do, and I like that, and I think I'm going to do more of that, and sign more people, because I've kind of, I'm 29. I'm no spring chicken, but I'm not old. So I kind of, but at the same time, I started when I was 17, so I know what it was like when you felt like the world was against you, and that you couldn't get your music out there, and you wanted people to hear it. And especially now, I feel like it's more difficult than it's ever been to get your music heard. So if someone like me can, help push it out to more people, then, if there's any help that I can do, then I feel like, it's benefiting them. So yeah,
That's
why
great.
not?
That's great. So, has your music ever been licensed for some advertisement, like say a phone advertisement, or not movie, but an ad, basically? So, has it been ever licensed for an ad?
Ads, yes. Movies, no. It's been, I had a song 2011 called Gimme Gimme, and that was used in I think it was a Korean beer ad, which was quite funny.
Okay.
I think it's on YouTube somewhere. And yeah, I can't remember what it was called. It might be called like Cass beer, CASS beer. So, but just little things like that. Also, even small businesses will get in touch and be like, oh, I have, I don't know, a snowboarding company, and I have a video where I've put your song to, can I get a license to use it for 2 years? And I'll just say, yeah, sure. And then, all I ask is how long is it going to be up for? What platforms is it going to be on? Is it just online? Are you going to put out a TV ad? What are you planning on doing it for? And then I just, feel I have a, rough estimate of how much I feel I should charge for certain things, and then just make up a fee and charge them that use for the song for however long they want it. So it's cool when that happens, because it's it's almost like you're making money from not doing anything, because as a song has been out for however many years, and somebody says, oh, I want to pay you for, and it's always going to be more money than I'm going to make from, it might be 6 months or a year worth of streams of that song. So it's it's win-win. So
So when that usually happens, do you like send them the whole finished song, or do you like send them the stems or something? Like, do they ever have specific requirements, or it's like just give it the song, we will do something out of it?
Usually it's just the song, just like a what they call the master, which is like a high quality WAV file of the song. Sometimes it stems, but very rarely. Like it just depends what they want to do it for, and yeah, like how they want to use it, I guess. But and I noticed that there's a trend recently in movie trailers where they'll take a famous song and then they'll like put an orchestra around like the acapella or something, like the Joker trailer. They used that
Sorry.
Nirvana song,
Yeah.
and so they've obviously used like the acapella, maybe like the guitar line, but then everything else around it, like the orchestra and the bass and the drums and everything else, is like someone has composed that, almost like a remix around the song. So yeah, and that also happened with what was another good example? Stranger Things season 3 was Thriller, Michael Jackson, and someone had taken the a cappella of that and made, I think because it was coming out in Halloween or something. So, you know, it's like a cool way of like breathing new life into a new song, and yeah, it's pretty creative.
I see. So just a while ago, you were mentioning about doing different creative things, like including videos or something. I recall you just put out a short film of sorts using
Hmm.
all the recycled contents. That was really interesting. Could you please just explain a little bit? What was it all about?
Yeah, so it's called Mosaic, and it's a short film that's free on YouTube. So just type in Mosaic short film on YouTube and you'll find it. But essentially, all the music is, and I started the music first before the short film. They're essentially, every single sound that you hear is a sample. So it's taken from a vinyl record. So, for example, the drums are taken from one song, the bass is taken from another song, the guitar is taken from another song, etc., etc. Which is a technique that's sort of like been done a million times over, like DJ Shadow does it, and like the Avalanches and people like that. But what I thought would be interesting is to create a short film that all the images you see are also recycled as well. So what I did was found certain websites where people would upload videos for free that you can use just, in your projects or whatever, like free of charge, just completely free stock footage. And a lot of it like really surprised me, and like how amazing it was, and like why aren't these people using it? Why haven't they used it for something? And because if they didn't, it would just sit there and no one would ever see it. So I started to think, okay, so here's a certain song that I made. What would the visuals be for the song? So, for example, let's say there's a bit in the song that has like tweeting birds, like in the background. Like, what would the visuals be for that? Would it be a tree? Would it be the sky? Would it be a bird? Like, what would the visual be? And I pretty much did that for every single song. Like, looking at different stock footage, listening to the songs and thinking, what does the pairing need to be? And I think I've always thought, I'm a big fan of cinema and films, and I've always thought that that the marriage between really strong visuals and great music together is like so powerful. And so yeah, I just decided to do the short film, and I started to edit it all together into one piece, and it's like 25 minutes long, I think. So I just thought I'd put it out for free and put it on YouTube for free. I mean, technically it's like another album, but I don't see it as that, because like I say, the marriage between the music and the visual is so strong. It's almost like they're meant to be together. So for that reason, I haven't like put it out as an album. It's just a short film. So, but yeah, I'm really happy with it. I'm really happy with the way it turned out.
So you said it's recycled. I mean, by taking samples from different vinyls, even the vocals and everything is is being sung?
Everything. Yeah.
Wow. So
Not. I try to. Nothing new has been added. So
okay.
no simps. No. There's like subtle effects, but enough. But again, the effects are coming out of what was already there. So, but nothing new. No, I haven't written any music that's new. It's just all manipulated audio. So, yeah, everything is already done, and I've just put it all together.
Pardon my French, but that's amazing.
It took a very long time, like because those songs were basically a side thing that I was doing when I was writing this last album. So like on the days that I wasn't focusing on writing those songs for the album, it was like, oh, okay, wouldn't it be fun to like stick all these songs together and make something? So I wasn't really taking it seriously, and I was just having fun with it. It was only after in lockdown where I was like, okay, I'm bored now, like the album's out. I need something to do, so I just edited all this stock footage together and
so
put
this
it
the
out,
whole
so.
project started this year itself?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So the music was done before. The music was done whilst I was writing the last album. But in terms of the visual side, it was all done under lockdown, and I edited all the video to all the songs.
Oh wow, this was a one-person job, the whole thing?
Yeah.
Damn, that's amazing. Wow, that is really good.
I felt like it was it's something that I hadn't seen before. Like I'd heard albums like that where people had taken different pieces and put it all together, but I hadn't seen a recycled film with the music. So that's why I did it, because I've just felt like, why hasn't this been done before? So yeah. I've got another idea as well that I might do one day, which is to take every sound from YouTube videos. So instead of vinyl, instead of records, YouTube videos. So it could be like people talking, could be someone doing like a cover of a song on YouTube, could be someone's original song on YouTube, could be like someone playing the drums. Imagine someone just playing the drums, like, and they've just put it up on YouTube. I could take those drums and then like rearrange it and make like a new drum beat out of the drums that they played. But that's like that would take probably years, but that's another like pipe dream that I've had.
No, that would be interesting, because it's like, if you see those twingy meme compilations, that's basically the same thing. But
yeah.
But yeah, it will be pretty interesting to see. Do you have any other projects in the line? I did see that you have a new single coming out soon-ish.
Yeah. So I've got a single called Thank You, which is coming out, and basically in like a long story short, I haven't released any house music for quite a while. Like the last time I did was Sleepless Nights, which was 2017. So it's been like a good 3 years or so, and I haven't like put any house music out. So yeah, I was like conscious of that, and I wanted to put out something more for the club and more for DJs and less for listener. I mean, it's still for the listeners, but I mean, it's just funny because, like, again, it's the worst timing because obviously lockdown and coronavirus. So, you know, DJs can't play it in clubs. But like we were saying earlier, like, so many people are streaming at the moment. So, including DJs. So, yeah, I'm not too worried about it not being played in clubs. I still think people will like it. So, yeah. And I've done a really cool a video to go with it too.
Nice.
Now it's like prep. I'm just prepping now. Like I said before, like all the like different pieces of content and the artwork and all that kind of stuff. So now it's like the kind of boring bit before it actually comes out, and then when it's released, then it's like, then you can relax and you're like,
So when it comes to like everything, preparing from videos to like all the creative content around it, so you do it all by yourself?
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, sometimes I'll get other people involved, but like 99% of the time I just do it myself.
Damn, you amaze me. Literally.
Yeah, but the thing is, you kind of have to learn these things on the job. Like I didn't know how to edit video, and I didn't know how to, create some of these things, but you just force yourself to learn and get software and look at YouTube tutorials, and you just kind of learn on the job, because if not, and the thing is, like, some of these things are more simple than people make out them to be, like, and there's also parallels. So, like, for example, video editing software is very similar to music software, in the sense of, and actually, video editing software existed before music software, and a lot of the terms in music software are taken from video software. So, like, copying and pasting, and like just like cutting, and like transitions, and effects, and like they're all like, it's the same terminology. So I kind of felt a little at home when I first started to edit video and stuff, so it just seemed familiar somehow.
I see. So it might sound funny, but yeah, I edit music and podcasts on Video Editor itself because it's convenient. It has everything I need because it's a NLE, it's a non-linear editor. So it's perfect for that thing. And I've got all the tools. I use DaVinci Resolve. So what kind of video editor do you use?
I just use Final Cut Pro. Final Cut Pro for Mosaic, and then certain pieces of like content for like Instagram and Twitter and things like that. I'll use After Effects, and sometimes Photoshop for certain things, and that's pretty much it. Like, just those three things, and yeah, just use different sort of like I say, transitions and like color correction, or if it's After Effects, then it will just be like editing a piece of animation, or making some text move or an image move, and yeah, just like importing stuff from Photoshop into like After Effects and things like that. And yeah, I just, like I say, I like learned on the job. I'm still not, I still wouldn't consider myself like, I'm far from like a professional, and I wouldn't know what to do if I had a job as like a, video editor or something like that. But I know enough to, get by.
Yeah. A quick question about Mosaic though. How does the copyright thing work with such projects? Like, you're essentially sampling everything. So how does it work out?
So obviously the visual side of things is fine, because like I say, it's like free stock footage. So I'm not like, I haven't taken any visuals that's like that you should pay for or anything like that. It was all like free stuff. But in terms of the music side, I mean, of course, like I've taken all these different bits from different records, so that's why I put it out for free, because I didn't want to be seen to be making money from it, because obviously I know what it would be like if someone took my stuff and sampled it and put it on Spotify and made lots of money from it. So really, it was like more of like a passion project than anything, and just like I want, and that's why at the end of the film, in the credits, I've put like my sources, so where I got the stock footage from, and every single artist that I sampled from the music point of view is in the credits, because I just wanted to be like, look, I know that obviously I've taken from all these songs, but I still wanted to give credit and be like, these are the people really behind the music, and I just put it together. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure from a legal point of view, it probably is still breaking copyright, but because I'm not making money from it, I see like, there's not really too much harm being done. But I mean, I'm sure some other people would maybe disagree, but but here we are.
Like you mentioned, copyright issues and everything. Has it ever happened with you, like you find someone else using your music just, I mean, in quotes, illegally for something? Like say a
um,
YouTube video or something.
okay, so I'm kind of there's kind of two ways of looking at it. So an artist can have, what they call content ID. I don't know if you've heard of that before,
Yeah,
but it's essentially where if someone uploaded a YouTube video and they used my music in it, the YouTube sort of algorithm would pick up on that song and would make sure that when ads are put on the video, a certain percentage of the revenue from the ad would go to me. But I personally don't do that because I feel like it's almost like free promotion. If someone wants to use my music on YouTube, then if they want to make money from it, fair enough. Like, I don't want to like put a big barrier up and say like, you can't use my music. It'd be the same with like Twitch. If there's a Twitch streamer and he wants to play my music on Twitch, go for it. Like, I don't want to. I don't want to stop people doing stuff. But I kind of have a different outlook when it comes to something like Spotify, and thankfully it's only happened like one or two times, but there's been times where someone has taken like an instrumental of mine and put like a rap over it and put it up on Spotify as if it was their song and without crediting me. And so and if they did it the legal route, so if they were like, they contacted me and was like, hey, I like your instrumental and I want to I want to rap over it, I'd be like, yeah, cool. And we'd work something out where I'll take a really small percentage, like 10-20% or whatever, and let them take the rest, and I'd be cool with that. But it's just something about when you're making money without credit that doesn't sit right with me. Whereas if you're putting something up for free like YouTube, or I'm kind of cool with it, or Twitch, or I'm kind of cool with it. So but I know other people feel differently about it, and that's why content ID exists. But at the same time, I would hate to be a content creator on YouTube, someone who does videos, and you're putting someone's music to your video because you like the music and you want to help out the artist, or maybe just like the song, and then suddenly you get a big notice that says, we're going to take a big portion of stuff from you, or it's just like, it doesn't really sit well with me, so I don't do it. So
See. And correct me if I'm wrong, the whole tracklist of Mosiac is available on SoundCloud? Like on a track per track basis?
So I've started to upload it again because obviously SoundCloud is free. So I've started to slowly but surely upload each song on Spotify. So if people do want to listen to it, like just the audio, they can on SoundCloud. But I won't be uploading it anywhere else because, again, like obviously I can't make money from it. So
obvious reasons.
Yeah.
If someone wants to go out and buy a mic, or say some musical instruments or musical equipment like headphones or something, is there something that you would suggest on a personal level, like, hey, I use this mic and this sounds amazing?
Yeah, what I'm using right now is pretty much these are both like the industry standard. So for listeners, I'm using a Audio Technica pair of headphones. I can't remember what they are. The
M50X, I guess.
Yeah. And then the mic is just a Shure SM7B, which is like the standard podcast radio mic. And they're both like not stupidly cheap, but not really expensive. So I think the headphones are like £150, and the mic was maybe 200, something like that, 250. And obviously there's a lot more expensive mics and headphones, but obviously there's a lot cheaper ones as well. But yeah, I mean, for someone like, for what I do, like, I kind of feel like it's quite important to have good headphones and good mics. I mean, I've got a few mics, but this is probably my favorite one. And for my voice and for other people that I've recorded, like, it's a good mic to use, not just for voiceovers, but for singing as well. So, but yeah, I mean, in terms of like a source, just like doing research and like, I know there's that website called what's it called? Equipped Board. I think it's called Equipped Board. Mm-hmm. And on there you can basically see different artists, their equipment. So it could be like a guitar player, and you can see what guitar he uses and what pedals he uses and what amp he uses. But likewise, you could look up, you know, a singer and what mic they use, or a producer and what synthesizers he uses and things like that. So so that's a good website. But if not, and you're just, you know, looking for recommendations, then, you know, just like watch some YouTube tutorials, or you know, like product reviews and things, or you know, Amazon reviews or whatever, you know. So chances are, if it's had enough reviews and enough people are talking about it, then it's probably good. So but there's one or two like YouTube channels that I'm subscribed to that do talk about gear and stuff, but to be honest, like, so many of them are a bit like repetitive and you know, are more towards like the pro side of things. So I probably wouldn't like recommend it to people, because, you know, some of the equipment is quite expensive and stuff. But if you're just starting out and you want a good mic and a good headphone, then yeah, just like I say, just Google it.
It usually works. Yeah, just Google it.
Yeah.
So a little birdie told me that you're also starting your own podcast. So what's that about?
Yeah, so basically there's one episode so far, and I'm working on some more, but like it takes quite a while.
Yes.
It's I've like given myself more work because it's like a scripted thing, and because it's quite time consuming in terms of putting it together. It would make more sense if it was something like this and it's conversation, like I know there's still work that goes behind, you know, conversation podcasts, but it's more linear and it makes more sense. But my podcast is called Multi-Track Masters, and the first episode is on Janet Jackson, Got Till It's Gone. And essentially I'm just going through multi-tracks of songs, so the different stems of a song, so the drums, the bass, the guitar, the vocals, and I'm kind of telling the story of the song through the multi-tracks.
Oh, I see.
So for example, we've Got Till It's Gone, the original drum beat is different from the final drum beat on the song, so but the multi-track still has that original drum beat in there, so I can kind of tell the story of what happens with the drum beat and why it's different, and the process that that happened to get there. And yeah, I just plan on doing that with different songs. So, you know, just classic songs, and taking apart the multi-tracks and telling you the story behind songs, because it's really interesting to me, because you can really pick apart a song and you can really understand the journey of the song through the multi-tracks. You know, they tell a story, and there's little artifacts and little hidden things in there that you might not have heard, or tracks that weren't used in the final record. Just, you know, just hidden things, and I quite like that. And it's quite a nerdy thing, I guess, but I just find it interesting.
Yeah, so multi-track is basically an arrangement of stems on vinyl. Is that what it is?
Not on vinyl, just like just the song itself. So like now, if I opened up FL Studio, opened up a project of a song, and I exported the vocals and the, you know, the bass and the drums, like that what used to happen was in studios they would obviously have these huge mixing desks, and every single channel was a different instrument.
Mm-hmm.
So and the mix of the song is basically every single track. The volume differs on each track, and then each track might be treated differently. So they might decide less based on this one, more based on that one. They might put reverb and delay and things like that on certain channels. But essentially, a multi-track is the multiple tracks of a song, and what makes up the song. And that's what's so cool about I guess music production, is that it hasn't really changed in all these years. So you can go back to a song from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and so on, and it's basically recorded the same way.
I see where this is coming from, because I personally collect unreleased songs. I'm like, I see how a song went through multiple demos, and then something which is played at a certain festival, and then when it actually releases, you get to see like how many iterations it went through and what it finally sounds like. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great tool and it's a great lesson for learning how a song was made and how to write a song. If you're someone like me who actually does that for a living, it's a great way of understanding how something was recorded. Not just physically recorded, but also like what was played and how it was played. Because when you listen to a song and it's all together, you're listening to the maybe like 20, 30, 40 different instruments and tracks all playing at the same time. So certain tracks are hidden in the mix that you can't really hear, but if you listen to them in isolation just on their own, sometimes you could be really amazed. Like one I've got which really amazed me is Superstition by Stevie Wonder. That main clavinet line that he plays throughout the song, it sounds like on the record maybe like one or two layered on top of each other, but when you look at the multi-track, it's something like 12 or 11 takes of him playing the same thing with slight variations every single take. And the thing that you hear on the final record is all of those takes stacked on top of each other, and that's what gives it that really funky, like just original sound. So
that's amazing. So I really like your Human Nature multi-track remix of Michael Jackson. That sounds really good. I mean, that's your signature LLR sound, but yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, with that one, it was like I got the multi-tracks, and I got them before they'd like leaked online, because a lot of these multi-tracks, like they different collectors have them, and then which obviously they shouldn't have, but they do. And eventually they all like leak online. But yeah, a collector emailed me that one, and it was like, it's one of my like all-time favorite songs. And so I always had an idea, like I even remember like being like 12 or 13 and like having this idea of like, I wonder what Human Nature would sound like if you changed the drum groove to, instead of half time, like full time, so the snare is on the 2 rather than like the 3. So that, like, I had that idea like years ago, and I never thought that I would actually be able to do that. So when I actually sat down and made that remix, like I knew how it should sound in my head before I even did it, which is crazy, and that never happens. So and again, the that remix, the lead vocal is a alternative take, so it's not the take that you hear on the final record.
Correct.
It's a different take. So, and again, you would only find that in a multi-track. So they're pretty crazy.
Yeah. All right, Brett, so where can people find you on the internet?
Lots of places. I guess the main place I should probably take you to, because you can find links to everywhere else, is my official website. So just go on www.louislaroche, which is LOUISLAROCHE gmail.com. I have to spell that out because people will get it wrong. And on there, you can find me on everywhere else: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere, Spotify. So yeah, look me up.
Great. I mean, I have my share of misspells and mispronunciations. Nobody gets my name right. So yeah, I relate to that.
Americans, it's always Louis for some reason. Americans love Louis and not Louis, but
Well, Brett, it was really amazing having a chat with you. I hope you had fun as well.
yeah, no, thank you for having me. It's been. I didn't know what to expect, but like it paid off, and it's so cool to chat with you. So thank you for having me.
All right, folks, that's all for this episode. I hope you liked it. And if you did, like, share, subscribe, do your thing. And if you have any questions for me or Brett, just head over to Twitter. As usual, all the usernames and links will be in the show notes in the description below. And as always, thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.